WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting often rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something that's not so rare, but I'm happy to show that it made it to Germany. And I have a question as well. So it's Balcones, Texas Pot Still Bourbon, straight bourbon whiskey. 700 milliliter bottle, very, very good. 46%. The original Texas whiskey. Well, some people might actually argue about that. I have batch TP5920 minus or dash 4, date of is the 18th of August 2020. Now, nowhere on this bottle do I have anything like usually in America, aged at least 24 months. According to the regulations of bourbon, if there is no date and there's the fact that it's a straight bourbon, then it must be 4 years or older. Mr. Balcones, I'm going to actually name you by a person here. Jared. So the master distiller, Jared, what was it once again? Is it Henstedt? Do we have bourbon over here in Europe that is twice as old as the bourbon in the States? I don't think so. Even on the back of the barrel or back of the label, there is no definition of any age. Now, if I'm right about my legal terms, is that we have an agreement with the European Union and America. We recognize your geographic identification, the GI, which says whatever the rules are in America are the rules also here for your products. And so actually there should be, going over here, aged 30, at least 35 months. Yay, you did that right. But for some reason, there's nothing on here. I might be wrong. Help me, help me, help me if that's the case. All right, so over here, I paid 39 euros 90 cents for this, which I think is almost a bargain. In America, this is $30. This is whiskey base number 173373, 46%, and it's made on one of the four, or on two of the four Forsyths pot stills in Waco, Texas, by Balcones. Now, to be very, very, very honest, at the beginning of my whiskey career, I liked Balcones until something happened. Yeah, some of you maybe know what happened back then to Chip Tate. Chip Tate was the founder of Balcones back in February 2013, under the bridge and so on. He had hand-hammered some of his stills and so on. For me, a very interesting guy. He needed some investors to expand for distribution, got some money in the company, and basically what happened to Steve Jobs happened to him as well. He got kicked out of his own company. Now the team that now runs Balcones may be a whole different story, and I was a little bit, oh man, I didn't like the story. I really didn't like that part of the Balcones history there. But I must admit they're making some unique, excellent, great products. So yes, my heart is now forgiven for whatever happened there, but still I'm going to ask some serious questions sometimes when I find something that's not exactly right here. So one thing that I don't like, again, sorry, that's just me, is your mash bill. Yes, I like the fact that I can read that it is either just blue corn or roasted blue corn, that it's Texas wheat, that it's Texas rye, and it's barley. Barley doesn't grow in Texas very well, so I understand that. But why isn't that on the homepage of the website of Balcones? Why don't you put the mash bill? Why don't you call it a 4-grain bourbon? It's not on there either. Wow, all these accusations from this crazy guy over here in Germany, who's asking the guys in Texas a little bit of these uncomfortable questions. Who knows? What I do like, and now we're going to come to the real part, you have the certified Texas whiskey symbol on here. All right, so very good. The Texas Whiskey Trail, which I might do one day. I hope to make it back to Texas, visit my family down there. And also here, the certified whiskey in Texas, I think is a great, great thing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a whiskey that is not from Texas, but I must admit this is one of my favorite bottles ever. Look at this, it's a Texas bottle. Isn't this cool? I really, really like this. I bought this in auction from UK a couple of years ago. I actually spoke to the owner of the, well, I communicated via writing with the owner here of the Texas Republic Whiskey. He sold off the company. There will never be another bottle like this, at least not from him, and so on and so on. But I just love this bottle. I think it's Jim Beam. I think it's Kentucky whiskey in here. Who knows? But I just love this bottle. All right, good. I think I've said that enough. This is going to be my comparison whiskey. This was my control whiskey at the beginning, just to get my palate up to date here. Now, for me, the pot still bourbon is, of course, beautiful. Almost all the bourbon we have from the big boys are made in beer stills. That's a continuous still. So what you do is basically you have a mash tun, you put your grain in there, you put your water in there, and then you put it over the fermenter. What happens usually in Scotland is you have a lauter tun. To lauter is actually a German word which means to clean, to actually clarify. And what you do is you just leave the grains because you have a perforated floor and the water with the sugars go out and the grain is left over. And so you then put that in the fermentation, the washbacks, and then you let the yeast in there and you create that. What often happens is what you do in America, if you've ever been to a distillery, maybe like I was at Maker's Mark, you can actually see that it's oatmeal. So you go by in the washbacks and you put your finger in there. It's like, oh, very, very hygiene. You put your finger in there and try it and do it again. And then I remember doing that. And then you just basically have like a little bit of an oatmeal type of grits on your tongue because that the entire matter that was first of all grinded down to a flour type of consistency is actually gone and put into the beer still. Now, what my question is on Balcones, which I don't know, I couldn't find it anywhere, is do you actually lauter your wort, that the liquid before it goes into the pot stills, which is very common in Ireland and in also in Scotland, or do you actually put everything into the pot stills? I don't know. That's something that the geekiness of me would actually like to know. If you know, please put it down in the comments. That would be of interest to me. One last thing that I also noticed is we have a 4-grain. We have the blue corn, as I mentioned. We have the Texas wheat. We have the Texas rye. Now, I do have the Texas Balcones 100 proof rye, and for me, it's a chocolate mocha monster. Rye for me should not have mocha. Where does that mocha come from? In my personal opinion, it comes from the fact that when they actually do the malting of the rye, that they actually heat it up to stop that germination process, and they leave it and they actually roast the rye. So it's like a toasted, roasted rye. And a little bit of that moment I have in here as well. So, are you using the same toasted, roasted rye that you used for your rye in here? If so, it actually answers some of my questions that I might have. All right, very good, very good. On the nose? Now, the very, very first thing that surprised me was this failing, the lacking of the sweetness of a normal bourbon. Over here, much sweeter. Oh, you get that corn sweetness at the very beginning. I often like sweet. I have a sweet tooth, and that's what I expected. Now, over here, I didn't get the sweetness. I get an herbal type of moment, which is interesting. I actually described one of my favorite notes in here. We have this little, we have orange gelatine and we have lime gelatine that we put in Christmas cakes over here. And that lime gelatine, as if you actually coated it with cinnamon, you coated it with cloves, and you coated it with cardamom. Those 3 spices with that lemon jelly type of lemon peel concentrated together, which I think is a unique, absolutely fantastic note for a whiskey of anything in the world. All right, so on the nose, the next thing that I really recognize is the woodiness. So the lime moment, that lime spice moment is not in the forefront, but rather a little bit in the background, but I like it a lot. In the forefront, I have a lot of wood. Now, if you go to an old Scotch, 21 years old, you're going to have, or if you go to George T. Stagg, 17 years old, or something like that, you're going to have Elijah Craig, 18, and so on. You're going to have like this wood, dark moment. You're chewing on a popsicle stick is what I call it. And if you go to some of the craft distillers, you have basically something that is green wood, which is very young. I always say take a birch twig, pull off the bark, chew on it. I don't like that. And this is somehow in the middle. It's a little bit towards the greener side of the darker side, but it's there. Now, I use the word craft. Over here in Germany, we have two big producers of whiskey that I also like. One is called Ellsburn, and they do everything by hand. They actually call themselves handmade whiskey. So they have pot stills and they put wood under the pot stills. They don't use gas, they don't use electricity, they don't use steam. They're direct fired by wood. And every single bottle that you see from them, the label, a person actually put the label on there, sealed it, everything put in the box. It's very, very hand, person, labor intensive type of product. Another company that I've worked with quite a lot and I actually like as well is called St. Kilian. They're producing about 500,000 liters of whiskey a year. And what they do is they don't even have their own bottling line. So they outsource the bottling. They actually have almost, they do fill the casks themselves, but they put them away and they don't touch them. Everything's basically outsourced. They do some labeling, but they don't touch. It's not handmade whiskey as like the other place. And it has a little bit, and this fight we can go on with the defining of what is craft. Is it actually the amount of liquid you produce a year? Is it the amount of barrels you produce? Is it the amount of whiskey you sell? What is it? And I think it has a lot to do with also the size of the distillery. And for me, Balcones was craft, and now they're one of the big boys, or one of the bigger boys, at least in Texas, they're big. And they're getting bigger and bigger. And if they've made it over to Germany, if they have worldwide distribution, they're no longer craft. Sorry. Also, that could be one of the definitions that we have. All right. I like this. This is unique. This is different. This is a little bit, here's my comfort zone, and this is a little bit outside of my comfort zone of my bourbons. Good. As I said, that wood, that spice, that lime, a little bit of cacao, that chocolate is in there. Nice. Cheers. 46%, non-chilled filtered, never coloring added. Very well done, guys. Thank you. I just noticed a little Go Texas symbol down there. That's kind of cute. Never seen that before. All right. This is one of the whiskeys that actually the aftertaste is better than the original mid palate and so on. I love the taste of lime. I love this cardamom. I love the spiciness of the clove and the cinnamon here. And okay, yeah, nice. Wood, lime, cinnamon, yay. Now, I did put water in this in my German video. And what happened was that the oakiness of this actually went from the middle of the road where I almost like it over to a greenness. I did not like it. And not even that, it actually became a more powerful aroma and a more powerful tasting note that took over. It took me almost like 3-4 sips before I finally forgot that green overpowering note. So I'm not going to put water in this. This is actually something I really like. Over here in Germany, we have, as you probably also have in the States, the following Balcones products. Brimstone, not my cup of tea. I'm not a person with the sage oak smoke. Nope. We have here the Pot Still Bourbon. It's actually 36 euros now instead of 39, which I paid for it. We have the Balcones Texas Single Malt, which is really, really interesting. We have the Texas Rye 100 proof, which I can recommend if you do like the that mocha moment with your rye. We have the True Blue 100% straight corn, which is very interesting. I will be reviewing in a moment the first time that I actually have a Texas single malt rum cask finish. Yay, 62%. And we have the Balcones Baby Blue as well out there. Sometimes there's some independent bottlers out there like that Boutique have some and so on. But we also have over here at the moment Rumble Cask Reserve, which is not a whiskey, but also a very, very unique product to say the least. All right, so this is going to get a B minus, C++ for me, which is an excellent review. A solid C for value for money, actually more almost a C+. I'm going to recommend more and more people that like bourbon go out there and try a Balcones. They're now available over here in Germany. They're more and more available in Europe and the world. And I hope also in your part of the woods, in your neck of the woods, as my mom would say, you would actually be able to find the Balcones Pot Still Bourbon, try it, and enjoy it just like I did. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for commenting. My question of the day is, what is your favorite Texas whiskey? It can be from Balcones, it can be from other producers, I don't care. I think it's an amazing thing that's going on down there. I have not had an Eleanor yet. Maybe one day I'll get to have that. The Whiskey Tribe's making some good and doing some great stuff there, and the Texas Whiskey Association, I think it's called that, at least the Texas Whiskey Trail, they're doing fabulous things down there. Can't wait to get back to Texas and actually try to visit some of these distilleries in the future. All the best. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American tasting. In this case, not really rare and exotic whiskeys. Oh, by the way, this is sweet bourbon. It's just like a 12-year-old signature Jim Beam for me. Bye-bye.